Apparently, I am muted. For those of you that missed what I was saying, first crash of the stream, I do apologise. We're persevering, though. We're getting there. F124 has decided to load itself back up, eventually. And then, once we join in, we should be primed and prepared for some F124 action. Someone's following. Oh, it's Mr. Formula Kareem. Hello, sir. How are you doing? Welcome along. Division 1 faithful in the F05 eSports circle is Formula Kareem. An absolute sweat of the game, an absolute pace merchant. But that's why he's in Division 1. So there you go. Tune in for Division 1 soon, by the way. That happens tomorrow evening. So if you want to see Formula Kareem and many other quick boys driving, then go there. But COTA, it's a circuit with a lot of character, let's be honest. It's really got, like, one of Tilke's tremendous triumphs, I would say, in terms of the undulations, the fact he carved the land underneath it to create such a wonderful landscape as well as a race circuit. It really shows itself not just in real life, but in the game as well. I mean, you can't really sing its praises enough, can you?
Absolutely, we've seen so many incredible moments that have happened around this circuit. I'm thinking back to Lewis Hamilton taking the first win at the first ever US Grand Prix back in 2012, overtaking Sebastian Vettel, and then of course Vettel going on to continue his this being part of his 9 winning streak, of course, and then Lewis Hamilton winning a third world championship and a sixth world championship here. So many things have happened at this event, and of course, thinking back to what we saw a couple of nights ago when we had our Division 3 drivers around here. I think we're in for an absolute thriller of a race, to be honest. There's going to be so much to really look out for, and there's going to be some really close gaps to really get involved in.
Good, absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, it's got, like you say, you talked about the opportunities of overtaking. And there's opportunities in droves around COTA. You've got turn number 1 where you can really force it to the inside, but you've got to be prepared not to be caught out by 1, the switchback, or 2, the vastly superior momentum around the outside. You've then got just before that first DRS zone, you've got the DRS zone itself. You've got the whole flowing bit at the beginning of Sector 3 or the end of Sector 2, correct me if I'm wrong. But that whole bit where you can just provide switchback after switchback, send after send. I mean, like, the opportunities are there for the taking, but you've really got to just fine tune your desperation a little bit. There's times to make the moves, there's times there isn't. You've just got to prepare yourself mentally to say, is it really time to force that move, or maybe just waiting, being a bit more patient can actually pay off even more.
You're right. I think that there's going to be some real mental mind games behind this circuit and the way the drivers are going to drive. Because we're now getting to the part of the championship where you've really got to think about your every move. Do you want to be going into that battle, or do you want to be making an early stop and getting out the current tussle that you're in and finding maybe some clear out? Or do you want to just drive through it and see what you can get out of it? There's going to be some real top performances by some championship contenders, and I just know if there is one slip up, then there is going to be some very frustrated drivers amongst us, and they will really want to be keeping on their A game for tonight. Of course, COTA. One thing I love about COTA is the amount of tracks that it's inspired by. Of course, see the middle section inspired by, I believe, Suzuka and maybe Silverstone in there as well. I think there was a little bit about Catalunya potentially as well, and for sure the Nürburgring has also been in. To watch. I can assure you they're going to be an absolute joy to cover as well, because there's so many drivers that like to go aggressive, especially in the early stages. But overall, I just think we should just let the driving on the racetrack do the talking for now.
They'll certainly be hoping for some slip-ups, and certainly hoping the driving does the talking. I mean, especially in the case of Cohen at the top, like we say, 32 points worth of a gap, more than a race win's worth of a golf. This sport, esports, real life, whatever, it's so much a psychological game as it is a physical game. So having that golf at this stage, that must be crucial for just putting you on the front foot every single time.
You're right on that one. You've really just got to make sure that you're on top of things every single time you get in a well, I say in a race car. But on your simulator, you do have to play those big old mind games. You really have to reset your mind every single time, because the tension is now really starting to rise up. We're into the final steppings of this Div 2 championship, and there's still a lot of things on the line. The stakes are just beginning to get that little bit higher every single time. Of course, we've got the likes of, I believe, Brazil, we've got the likes of COTA, and we've got Abu Dhabi in those last couple of races that we've got left on the calendar. I believe Mexico will also be on one there. And every single time you'll see these drivers just switch it up a notch or two, because they know the stakes around here. And of course, there will be some top drivers also having their own little incidents. I've seen it before, and it's never a nice sight to see a champion contender have a big old moment and then not grab any points from the weekend. You know, it's always just one of those heartbreaking moments where you think they deserve the chance, but at the end of the day, they have to try and be the best to end up being the best. And there you can see we're into the
It took a while, ladies and gentlemen. We had to cook it up, we had to casserole it, and all other methods in between. But we are here for qualifying. We're about halfway through the session. I apologise it's taken so long, but this is the status quo. As Adam rightly says, Bantams has just over a tenth of a second worth of a gap to a man literally called Speed behind him. And if that doesn't signify an ominous warning to the rest of the grid, I don't know what will. Vixal in third for Haas. We've got Sniper Seat, who's just starting another outlap in his Silver Arrows car. Has got laser focus on pole position at the moment. Has to settle for P4. F1 Scott in other news. He's in the pits. Actually, make that exiting the pits. That's pretty tremendous timing, but he currently in that McLaren car leading the Papaya Pros, because Matty Peel, his teammate in P8, has just invalidated a lap. And the track is quite long in this qualifying session, in terms of F1, in F1 regards anyway. I mean, you can't really afford an invalidation. It's knocking confidence. It's chipping away at it all the time. The more you try and push the limits, the more you perhaps overstep that limit and invalidate, you've got to reset that confidence again. And that snowball of momentum that you're hoping to reach, as someone else has followed, thank you, I'll read out names later, but that snowball of momentum basically capitulates in a heartbeat. The fall is notoriously so much quicker than the climb. They've got to sort of tread carefully. It's when you get to those crunch time moments, Adam, where pushing it to the absolute limit is so vital. Going for the Fernando Alonso steering technique. Look, look at this. The track constantly evolving as this session goes on. Cloudy conditions in COTA, that will slightly help the temperature of the tyres stay in the correct window, but Ferrari thinking they're flying fabulously. The rampant Red Bull of Havoc literally wreaking his namesake. Almost the 10th in it, and pole position for the moment as we approach 6 minutes left of this qualifying session as F1 Scott who we are just looking at now in the McLaren, approaching the end of the lap, taking a wide line into the left-hander. We ride on board with the man in the papaya machine, hug the inside line, shortest line of attack, and then you've got to use all of that track and flick the car in, hope the aerodynamics hunker down into the bitumen, and so it does bite into the bitumen beautifully. One final corner to go, let the pendulum swing in your favour, and F1 Scott moves up to P2. That is a cracking lap from the McLaren Maestro, less than, well, just over in fact, half a tenth away from pole position, but those laps, like you say, Adam, are going to come flying in thick and fast. Matty Peel then, DRS wide open as he heads down the back straight. Apparently there's audio issues, I apologise, I will sort them in a second. But Matty Peel, towards the end of Sector 2, he goes. Absolutely flying out there, both of the McLarens. Let's bring up the lap time to see exactly what is cooking in the McLaren camp. The answer is we have no idea. He's already breached the Sector 2 split. It's just this final stanza of the lap to determine exactly where he can plant that McLaren car on this grid. And those margins are coming down lighter and lighter. But an invalidation will do nothing to favour his fortunes. Into the pits comes Matty Peel. It's an opportunity that went a-begging once again.
To that car, and you'll have to go out once again. So we now have a little bit of a wait here before someone goes out. I think Have a Gamer, in fact, has gone out. We've also got it's MJ and Vortex, who are currently now waiting to head out onto the circuit because they need to get a lap in. They have no time set on the board. We tick past just under three. Really excited to see who's going to be. Of course, got Have a Gamer still down there in fifth, but what about the two Ferraris there? Cohen and Bantams have been oh so strong when they put their cars on the front row of the grid, but we're now really having to see what is the potential of all of these drivers. We've got some really exciting drivers out there.
It's getting to crunch time late on this qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen. Yellow flags out on the track for a fleeting moment, but just over 2 minutes to go in this one, and we have Havoc Gamer has actually retired from the session. He's attempting a Sebastian Vettel from back in the day. I believe it was actually 2012, where he retired after doing one lap in Q3 and said, yeah, that'll do. Got pole position, Lord Smug. But everybody else almost is going to be out on a lap, trying to prove themselves here at the stomping ground in the USA. Vortex over the line for what will probably be his one and only lap this session in the V-Carb. It's P11 that the V-Carb man can muster. And now we wait for what will be an absolute deluge of drivers who will then cross the line, and it will be foot to the floor, pedal to the metal, and we'll see who is made of the strongest stuff here at the Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, you've introed that really well here. But we head on to our final laps there. You can just see the amount of drivers out there at this moment in time, just looking for that clear space, any sorts of potential to get a slipstream, whether that be down the main straight, whether that be down the back straight. But it is going to be such a chaos-filled final lap there. There goes Scott Taylor over the line. F1 Scott, as he's known in the Formula One community. Of course, Havoc Gamer, in fact, is now out of the session. He parked it up in the pits and said, I can't do any more, which is going to be an interesting tactic because he will have a spare set of soft tires in his tire bank. So that Red Bull could be very, very fast by the end of the Grand Prix. Thinking one step ahead from everybody else here. Well, we are really looking to see how this table will turn. I think Cohen may have, as currently now in the middle sector, well, both Ferraris, of course, in the first sector. My apologies. Well, actually, no. Look at the track map there; they're both split. But we're now ticking down to the last couple of seconds. As Scott Taylor now heads towards turn number 12, searching galore for one of the drivers up ahead. I believe that'll be one of the Hasses. Just having a look there, Vixel may have just got past and much retires after a crash there on the exit of turn number 9. Huge drama in these last couple of laps.
It's crunch time now. It well and truly is. The final few moments of this qualifying session, and it is nail-biting stuff. Less than a tenth of a second separates second from pole position. Havoc wreaked havoc early on in the session, retired early on, and now it's up to those behind to see what they can do. First over the line, Vixel in the Haas. Across he goes, P4. F1 Scott moves up to provisional pole. Fantastic lap from the McLaren Marvel, but still plenty of pickers like Bantams to cross the line. Surely the 1-minute 30s will be breached come the end. Only time will tell. Matty Peel across the line. It's P9. That is the most he can muster. Spaceboy can't improve either. He remains P13. Cohen crosses the line. He can't improve either. So it's now up to George Hutch and those behind to properly assert their authority on the rest of the grid, or at least attempt to. Across the line, the Mercedes man goes. It's P9. And then comes the Kick Sauber man, who puts his foot through the timing board, but it's only going to muster up P11 when all is said and done. Literal man-like speed, going through the final 2 corners and just pushed it a tiny bit too hard. It was absolutely full commitment. No one can deny that. But in the end, it is an invalidation at one of the easiest places to be struck down by the stewards. Pole position then for the Ferrari of Bantams. What an absolutely crucial climax to this qualifying session. There, Scott Taylor takes P2 with Havoc Gamer rounding out the top 3. Cohen, the championship leader, P4 on the grid. It's a great session for Ferrari overall. Kick Sauber with Duke Seeker, P5. I'm so sorry if I said your name wrong. Vixel 6th, Sniper Z 7th, Man Like Speed is in 8th, George Hutch in 9th, Matty Peel in 10th. The rest of the results you can feast your eyes upon in front of you. What an end to that qualifying session, Adam, and that perfectly sets us up for what is going to be a rapturous race round the circuit of the Americas.
It's been set up really nicely from that qualifying session, and I think that a lot of the drivers will be happy with themselves. A couple others may be a little bit more disappointed. I know that Petronas and Olel Spaceboy were down there in the Stake Sauber and the Red Bull respectively. They're both very, very quick drivers, but is Div 2 a little bit of too much for them? I don't know, because they know each other so well from previous seasons of F05 ESPORTS. And now they're just looking to see if they can potentially make their way through. But yeah, you cannot put your finger. You cannot point your finger at a specific winner, I believe. I really do think that there could be a whole host of contenders, but there can only be one to come out on top here at COTA. And that run down towards Big Red up at turn number 1. Oh, it's going to be an absolute feast to try and eat up, and I wonder how that's going to turn out to be, because there's so many opportunities for a lunge down at that corner. And that's not even the rest of the lap. That's just one of the 19 corners around this circuit.
Expect sensational sends on lap number 1. We're staring at the Paddock Club. Look how mad they're going. They are absolutely loving it. Imagine when the cars actually start driving. Honestly. But here we are, sat in the pit lane, and the anticipation is amping up by the second. Don't adjust your sets, ladies and gentlemen. Division 2 really is here. It's Division 2 delight, but it will be a formation lap before we truly get underway with proceedings. coax the tyres into the right temperature window, although on this game in particular, so difficult to get the tyres in the right window. It's only really when you ramp it up to full racing speed where the tyres do properly comply, the temperatures do manage to get themselves in the correct window, and then you have that purchase that you were properly expecting.
You're absolutely right. Just on this formation lap, it's just kind of a peaceful moment just to get your tyres up to temperature. You do get about that 3 or 4 minutes that you need. Just get those final preparations in place there. Cohen in P4. You see those there's 4 cars in front of him. I can confirm that he should be having 3. It looks like just Vixel was just darted through the rest of the pack here. But I think that it's going to be really important for a lot of these drivers just to get a good start here. He could be one of the drivers to maybe to back out of the turn 1 send here. Could Cohen. But yeah, you just haven't looked down the grid there. Bantams could very much be on the defensive. He'll have to be looking left and right and have the eye in the back of his head up towards turn number 1. Otherwise, he can just hopefully make it simple around turn number 1. We've got Scott Taylor, who I think will be quite fired up for this one. I think also have a game, but will be very much taking his time. He seems like a driver that has got knowledge on his side. He knows that he's got his own pace to trust him, and I think he's going to fall back on that very, very well. I think there also could be some big surprises in this field as well. They can approach turn 19, and the grid is now starting to form here. Karl.
Yes, Bantam's properly got on with it then. In fact, the whole top 3 got on with it. It's Cohen making his own train, the championship leader. By the way, just in case you were wondering, this is round number 11 of the championship out of 15. It well and truly is getting to that full-on crucial climax this season. And this man has been colossal pretty much the entire season to create the golf he actually has. But that's only part of the job done. He's got to carry on that good form, starting in P4 today, still right up at the forefront of this grid. But anything can happen in Formula 1, as a very famous man once said. And oh boy, it usually does. We await the 5 red lights here at the Circuit of the Americas. Lights out and away we go, and let's see how they get off the line. It's actually Scott with a great start, side by side with Bantams, in fact ahead as they reach the apex of the corner. Marvellous from the McLaren driver, taking loads of curb to properly rub salt into the wounds, and the Papaya man, phenomenal at the start, can sprint off into the sunset. The Ferrari's up to 2 and 3 now as Cohen gets past the Red Bull of Havoc at the start. Vixel up to P5, and they're all making their way through the first sector. Nice and unscathed. Williams have clipped by Ollie, having a little moment, but he remains on the road in P15, struggling to get to the grips with that Williams car as it's aimed, although into the gravel goes Ollie for a brief moment. Not the start he would have wanted at all, but it is Scott Taylor, but behind, it's a send from the Haas of Vixel, the American dream at his home track, looking to fly the stars and the stripes and put stars in the eyes of the Red Bull man ahead. As they fly down the straight, it's a drag race that he eventually has to concede, remains in P5 for now, Adam.
Absolutely, the Ferrari's got off to a blistering start. Bantam's having to concede the leaders nonetheless, but Cohen has made his way up to 3rd. I think there's going to be some strategy here between the Ferrari drive, because they'll have to try and see if they can get past that McLaren. But look at Scott Taylor, he's absolutely blasted away. He's almost got a 2nd lead. There he ticks over to 1 second here. He is absolutely on the go here. They need to be careful of track limits as well here, because turn 19 is such an easy place to go off. And oh, that's going to be the barrier. That's going to be the Bantams. Bantams is off and down to 14. No, he's lost a bit of his front wing, but that is going to be so disappointing. Clipped by Ollie is into the pit lane as well, and wow, what a dramatic start here. A front wing loss for one of our leaders. Clipped by Ollie into the pit. Scott Taylor leads the way.
The pole sitter plummeting down the order then. It's the most devastating of starts for Bantams with that front wing end plate damage. That could already be curtains on his COTA race. Scott Taylor crucially out of that DRS range. In fact, it's the championship leader that's very much having to have his eyes behind him. because Havoc is going to have that DRS well and truly nestled up into that slipstream on the strategy front. Pretty much everyone starting on mediums except for George Hutch and Petronas in a Sauber. Meanwhile, through goes Havoc, but only so quickly because a safety car immediately out as Ollie has already retired from this race. And Scott Taylor's sensational start has been put into an obscurity and insignificance as the field will get bunched right back up. And now if someone wants to be really cheeky and get even a tiny tyre advantage, now is that time.
I think that would be perfect for Bantons because he will then be able to fix that front wing. Think of what tyres he should go on because, of course, I believe he did 3 runs during qualifying. We joined him on the second run. He put in a pole lap for the first run. So yes, he did do 3 runs. So you'll have a hard set and then possibly another medium set here. Havoc Gamer is into the pit lane here. I think he may be going on to the hard compound tyre like a lot of the other drivers here in the field. I just want to see if they can potentially just get their way through the majority of the race. They won't get through all the race because those hard tyres will probably be dead like custard cream by the end of their stint, by the end of the race. But so they won't want to risk a puncture at all. They won't want to risk being absolutely slaughtered in the corners by a fresher tyre behind. See there's the way it was all chopping and changing there. So it's now the 2 Red Bulls down there in 9th and 10th. But of course, one of them has made a pit stop. The other one hasn't. Nice. No, just George Hutch and SLR Petronas will be staying out there, both on the hard compound tyres. I think that was a good decision by the both of them, just so they can move up some positions, and they'll be on very, very similar tyres compared to Havoc Game. And then around them, the medium tyres will start to fall off a bit quicker than those hard tyres that they currently have on. This is still super interesting with many, many stories to unpack here in this huge cardboard box, and I'm really excited to see what it's going to look like emptied and all questions answered.
Every single corner, a new chapter written in Division 2 history, particularly in the streaming sector. The first time in a while, if you don't count what Division 3 is now, it used to be Division 2. But the point is, Division 2, in its current form, the first time it has ever been streamed. And like I say, with every corner, a new chapter written, a new page into the history of this wonderful league and wonderful division. At the moment, it's Scott that's on the correct side of it. He took P1 at the start with what can only be described as an absolutely scorching start. He flew off the line in that McLaren car, rightfully has the lead of this race as a result. The championship leader, Cohen, up to P2, and then, well, we're under safety car, as you can see. A few of them pulled the pit lane trigger. In fact, everyone from 10th downwards has pulled it. It means that this man has his blushes spared in the Scarlet Ferrari, and the prancing horse can well and truly get on galloping once this safety car comes in, because that front wing damage could have put pay to his race immediately. But being so early in this race, he can revitalise and rejuvenate himself. He's got that opportunity to properly propel himself up through the field as we go on, and hopefully his tyres... I've never heard anyone describe tyres flaking away like a custard cream, but there's a first time for everything. I love it. But hopefully that is not the case. I mean, I assume there'll be another stop after this, knowing how the tyres work, but it's the hard tyres. And on this game, F124, hard tyres are king.
Well, I think that they'll definitely go a long way in this race, but I'm not, as I said, I'm not sure to the end. Phantoms, I just think, will be very desperate to get through the pack and up to what he feels like is the right place for him. It looks like MJ is also gone into AI mode very weirdly, so hopefully he's still going to be with us and not an AI for the entirety of the race. So still on lap 4 of this race, safety car called by Ollie, hitting into the barrier. If you just joined, welcome to the F05 Division 2. We are now still in the very early stage of this US Grand Prix here at the Circuit of the Americas, and thank you to Tuatara, the sim racing gloves that is sponsoring us as well. A massive thank you for their cooperation. It's been an absolute pleasure to have them as a partnership, but still we have these drivers still trying to warm up their tyres, still trying to make their last minute preparation for them green once again. I feel like it could be this lap.
I completely concur. Shoutouts to Tuatara, shoutouts to all of you that have tuned into this Division 2 stream. It's MJ right here performing one of his singles, Ghosts, in rather fluid fashion. He is literally a ghost. So there you go, the more you know. Lap number 4, under the safety car, F1 Scott is your leader, and the safety car in this lap. And he's got to rebuild that momentum again. He's got to do that hard work he did to build that gap, to get out of DRS. It's annoying, really, as Vixel and Snipersy having a little bit of a tussle under the safety car, swapping hands and positions. Hopefully they sort that out and we can get on racing. But Scott now can control the pace, just take it nice and easy, warming up his tyres, getting the last morsel of momentum and energy into the Pirellis, and then he can pull that trigger. He's got to do all the hard work again, though, Adam. He's got to build up that momentum again, and the first step to that is getting this good restart done.
Absolutely, that would be the best way to try and get your momentum back up and going in this race. I really do think that he's got to just try and do whatever he can to just make sure that he gets going in. He's gone. He is blasted off around the last corner, and Scott Taylor will be making his way across the line to start lap 5 of this Grand Prix. He's got Cohen there to the just been behind him. He's moving right toward the pit wall, and back he goes. He's now going to start a little bit of defense here. There goes Olaf Space Boy having a look at Petronas. These two very much well know themselves, but through goes Havoc Gaming. A bit of a mistake there from his teammate, allows him straight back through and up to P9. So some position there. We just see that little safety car glitch, but this race is now starting to really get into a bit of a rhythm now. We've only had half a lap, but we're just starting to get ourselves into a really good position. Nice and smooth over the crest here, and now Havoc Gaming onto the rear of the Sauber. Will he go for an attack? Down into all the hairpin of turn number 10. No, 11, my apologies on that one. But yeah, no DRS. Doesn't go for this, and he said he goes for the switchback and potentially could get the Sauber overtaken here. Still in the slipstream, still in the slipstream, doesn't budge so far. Is he going to move to the left-hand side? He does. There's a gap there, but he doesn't go for it. He plays it nice and gently. He knows there is an opportunity furthermore to go and overtake that Sauber as Vixel gets a time penalty. 3 seconds from the track limits in that hat, and that's going to cause him a little bit of pain and suffering.
Only after 5 laps, he's on course to get 15 seconds worth of penalties this race. I love a bit of clever racecraft as well. Feinting to the inside, getting so close behind a diffuser. You sort of force your opponent to defend, and then the momentum is all in your favour. Couldn't capitalise on it on that particular occasion, but Havoc has got those fresh tyres and will deploy them to great effect. DRS enabled, but rather unlike the start of this race, Scott has really not been able to break that DRS gap. Cohen, the championship leader, all over the back of him, and this prancing horse is looking to absolutely gallop his way through. In fact, scorch past the McLaren Maestro up ahead as we get a nice little helicopter shot of the Circuit of the Americas Sector 1, very reminiscent of the Maggots Beckett section as Vortex gets a 3-second time penalty. Vixel's had a problem. What on earth has happened to the Haas driver? Stop escaping down the order. He's had a massive problem. It's front wing damage for the Haas driver. He's been into the wall, and that is going to be absolute calamity for the American dream. The dream very much turned to a nightmare, as onto the grass he goes as well. But DRS down this back straight for Cohen, probably won't manage to capitalise on it. Someone who will, though, is Speed Key. Through they go in the Williams car, breaching the Mercedes of Sniper Z. He might be laser focused on what's forwards, but really he should have been worried about what was behind as Speed Key surges through into the podium places.
Absolutely, really good stuff there from Speed Key, and of course with the DRS, it's quite overpowered on F124, and he's really just going with the flow at this moment in time. There, Havoc Gaming now past Petronas, so we knew that was going to happen, and he's just building himself up the field and will try and just climb as high as he possibly can. That's the only thing he can really do at this moment in time. Yellow in Sector 3, that looks to be the Haas there, and Vixel once again, and it is indeed as well. So Vixel just having a bit of an issue. I think the tyres are just, I don't know. I don't really know. I think he just made one mistake. The tyres are hot as ever. Almost lava temperatures. And now they've just become so slippery that it becomes undrivable. Cohen now starting to really gain here on Scott Taylor. Gaining with every 10th here. Now we're going to try and find a way through. And the first opportunity will be down towards that turn at 12 corner. That left-hander where you're hard on the brakes.
We're watching this battle with interest. We're watching the battle for the final podium place as well. Speedkey has not been able to prize himself away from Sniper Z, who really has got his reticule focused on the Williams driver. We're also watching with interest that train behind from P5 downwards. Also, have a look at the pole sitter, Bantams. Watch his ascension up the order as well. But Cohen can't make it through. It's another swap for position for P3 as Sniper Z goes through in the Mercedes car. Matty Peel breaches the barrier of the second Mercedes of George Hutch. And look who's following him through, potentially on the newer tyres, trying to run rings round the outside of the Mercedes driver. It turns to the inside for the left-hander. A bit of wheel banging as a bit of argy-bargy is involved. But at the end of the day, the traction is tremendous on the newer tyres, and Havoc Gamer looking almost to go round the outside of Matty Peel. Such is the pace of the hard compound and newer tyres at this current point in time. But it won't amount to anything for now. It looks like Petronas also trying to go for it in the final corner as off the track goes George Hutch. Potential contact between the two of them. And now Much in the Alpine is going for it. Hasn't had much fortune go his way, if you know what I'm saying. But he's going for it now. Round the outside of turn number 1. That's an opportunity that can present itself. You just have to plant the Pirellis into the bitumen. Hope that it sticks. And then just drive. And drive on some more. Who backs out first? It's the Kick Sauber man. And Much ascends up into P8 as Havoc continues to wreak his namesake with rapid proportions up to P5 now.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult gap to overcome over 3 seconds, especially seeing the snaps and virtual safety car. Virtual safety car, and I think that's going to be the McLaren there of Matty Peel. Oh dear, Matty. Not ideal whatsoever. It looks like he's not going to peel off the track. He's going to just stay on the circuit, try and make it back to the pits and get a new front wing. But that is called the virtual safety car. No major problems for anyone. No change in strategy, I'd say. I think we're going to go green before we get to the safety car.
I think it's a safety car. Sorry, Adam. I think it's a safety car. I see the yellow dot of the safety car in Sector 1. The graphic hasn't updated yet. It's a second safety car in this race, and pretty early doors still. Not even 10 laps through this race. We have 20 laps to go here in COTA. It's another blushes spared moment for the second McLaren of Matty Peel, who had done all of the dutiful and diligent work to get up into P5 ahead of Havoc for a brief moment until he threw it all away. Has that safety car though, the field will bunch up once again. Crucially, Scott has kept the lead, and now it's up to the pit crews. It's a battle in pit row, both pulling the pit lane trigger, and fastest finger first, the McLarens do it over the prancing horse. Scott Taylor will keep the provisional lead of this race. Havoc though will inherit the lead, switched on to those harder compounded tyres. In fact, pretty much everyone that stopped under that first safety car is going to continue to go up the order, so it'll be Havoc P1, Much in P2. Make that Much in P1 for a brief moment as they caught the safety car very quickly, and there's all kinds of chaos and confusion as Duke has really put himself in a conundrum. Slammed on the brakes to avoid an absolutely catastrophic pile-up, and in the end it's got off even worse for him, dropping an absolute multitude of places.
Phantoms was also there off to the side as well. That's why he's dropped a couple of places, but absolute carnage there during the safety car. I think it was Duke Seika, who I just think had the rear brakes on the brake bias a little bit too fast to the rear and just spun around on heavy braking, it seemed like. Yeah, very, very strange. You don't see that often at all. But yeah, just having a look down there. So have a game of Much. You've got Vortex there on the hard compound tyre, then Scott managing to find a way up to P4 here. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting, yeah, very interesting. We're just about to go into, I think that's a third of the race here so far. So really, yeah, it's just over a third of the race. So now, got to find a bit of a rhythm going very, very soon. Yeah, just having a look around at everyone at this moment in time, the hard tyre runners, I think, just need to run their race for now, and they'll be praying that there is a final safety car with about 10 laps remaining. Then they can go onto a fresh set of fastest tyres available to them. For Havoc Gamer, that will be the soft compound tyre. We saw that he didn't do a final run, and he saved a set of soft tyres for this race. The other will probably have a medium compound, or maybe even a soft. I'm not 100% sure. But what I do know is these drivers are going to be very much hoping and praying that they can get another safety car just so they can make their race. We'll see an absolute stream of cars going to the pits. Again, it's still so many stories that we're trying to uncover here. I think Scott Taylor there, you can see there in P4, I think he's just having a little bit of a pep talk to himself, because he's got a great opportunity here to win this race. The Scotsman has been so on the move here. He's been one of the impressive drivers in this race. You've got to stay focused, keep the car on the racetrack, keep it on the black stuff, and I think he should come away with a good big bag of 25 points.
Havoc Gamer certainly proving himself the oracle of this particular outstanding inspection of COTA at the moment. Remains P1. Speaking of much, he's P2, having a great time in the lone Alpine. Vortex in P3 for V-Carb. Bantams, by the way, we can confirm what happened with him. In the grand scheme of why he dropped a host of positions to Scott Taylor and his teammate Cohen, it was illegal overtakes. That caught him out, of course caused by, well, everyone bottling it and catching up to the safety car. So extremely unfortunate for the pole sitter. Once again, another stroke of misfortune onto the canvas of nightmares in this race. But we are now into double digits. Here at the Circuit of the Americas, we have Vixel rapidly approaching the back of this safety car line. The new race leader will then get us underway once the Aston Martin car peels into the pit lane. And then we go again here at COTA, and now it's roles reversed. These guys at the front on the older tyres, now the guys on newer tyres, significantly newer at that, and potentially, considering what time they've got it on in this race, perhaps a potential to even go to the end of this race, safety cars permitting. And that could really turn it on its head here. Speaking of which, safety car in this lap. A new person to control the field behind in the form of the rampant Red Bull, as he has proved to be pretty much all the way through this weekend. He's got to do all of the work and all of the heavy pulling possible, though, as he now has to direct the field away on 6-lap older tyres to net race leader Scott Taylor. But who knows? We've already had 2 safety cars this race. Anything can happen. By the way, if you're wondering about It's MJ, he's still performing as single ghosts, and he's having a great time in P15.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's having a brilliant time behind the sim rig. But looking up towards the front, I think it's really anyone's game. Havoc Gamer could do something much as you don't really see him much at the front of the field here, but a golden opportunity to take the lead of the race. But what a vortex there. P3 in the RB, ignoring that penalty. He's third on the road. He could potentially do something, but those fresh tyres behind of Scott and Cohen. We go racing, we go green here at COTA, and it looks like the pedal is going down to the metal here with Havoc Gamer. And look at Scott Taylor. He's going to try and get past the RB. I think he may have done it. He's got to just try and go around the outside, but Cohen now has got an advantage there. They head up towards Big Red here at the Circuit of the Americas, side by side in towards turn number 1 here. Cohen has managed to get through, or has he? I think they're still running side by side. There's the Red Bull, there's the RB, there they go side by side. The RB has been shifted out of rhythm here. He's going to go dropping down the field, down to 7th. He's going to go down to 8th. I think he managed to just save that racing car, and he just kept it within the top 8 magically. I do not know. He's managed to hold control of that car, but there will be a bit of flare behind the eyes of the Vortex. They head their way now down onto the exit of turn number 11. Down the long straight. Oh, Red Bull almost losing in the background. Oh, Space Boy. He's really struggling with the traction. Not been enjoying it this year on F124. Down in towards the left-hander here. Ignore the safety cars logo, but 3 wide in towards turn number 12 with the Williams managing to hold it there on the inside line. But the Mercedes, the sniper, will come back at him. It's a brilliant battle. Let's go 3 wide again, but the Mercedes will sweep around the outside to just about keep that position. Vortex involved in that as well, and then SLR Petronas is looking and sitting behind there with a bag of popcorn in his hand, saying, "I'm loving this, but I need to get involved very, very, very soon." And that's exactly what he's doing now.
absolute cinema here in F05 and switchback season through that section which we highlighted before the beginning of this race. As we head on to lap number 12, it was only a matter of time, but perhaps the leaders didn't expect it to be this quick. Space Boy's retired in the pit lane. That's his day done in the Red Bull car. Unfortunately, he'll take no further part, but Havoc and Much have, well, much a monumental job to do, to be honest, because Cohen and Scott Taylor already on the back of them, and the Hungry Caterpillar certainly going to get very tasty as wide goes Much, already feeling the pain and anguish floating through his Pirelli tyres with every single turn of the wheel. Now he has to use every single millimetre of track possible to get the best exit, but it's not a great exit. Cohen has a prime opportunity to pounce for P2, on board with the championship leader, right in the slipstream, a dose of the DRS, and down the inside, into the left-hander, brake as late as you dare, and with a bit of Fernando Alonso flair on the steering, Cohen moves up to P2, and Scott will be looking to pick up the pieces as a slide from the Alpine driver. Scott dives down the inside, has to be careful not to have his nose sliced off by Cohen, but does brilliantly to keep out the way. It's side by side, all the way through the right-hander, wheel-to-wheel stuff between Scott Taylor and Much, and in the end it's the McLaren man that comes out on top.
Oh, that's some superb battling between the two cars, and Scott Taylor managing to bring out the shoulder, bring out the muscle, and really fight on through. He's now looking to try and challenge for the lead, but his main opponent here will be Cohen, and he'll be hoping that Red Bull of Havoc Gamer can just hold up the Ferrari as much as he possibly can. Cohen is going to be the serious contender and the thorn in Scott Taylor's side as they swift their way through the sweeping sections, replicating Silverstone and in towards Suzuka Circuit, climbing up the hill, going through the elevation levels here, up and up they go, then back down. And I think that there's a real roller coaster feel about these drivers. They'll have that roller coaster feeling going through their veins, back onto the back straight where the overtaking is absolutely a light here. Have a game. Be looking in his mirror, darting to the left, darting to the right, but here is Scott Taylor. He's gaining here on Cohen, but will he decide to back out? He's quite low on battery here, but maybe he's got to go for it here. Cohen on the inside, Cohen a little bit wide. Will he be able to keep the position? We're going 3 wide. We're going around the outside with the McLaren and Scott Taylor. It's an unbelievable overtake. The McLaren has taken it from absolutely sitting on his sofa to throwing it around the outside, picking up that opportunity. Scott Taylor, take a big old bow for that one, my friend.
It's brilliant, it's beautiful, it is simply box office from Scott Taylor. What a move to take the lead of this race. Here on lap number 14, we've reached the fulcrum point here in the Circuit of the Americas. Cohen certainly won't give up, and with DRS looking to the inside goes Cohen. A massive flick of the steering wheel. Scott will try and use the momentum, but through goes the Ferrari. Once again, retaking the lead of this race. Well, he lost it just as quickly as he took it the first time. Scott Taylor with immense anticipation. Absolutely ice in the veins. He's the coolest man in COTA. That was electric from F1 Scott. There's 9 cars, there's 8 cars now, all within DRS of one another. Bantam's looking to make moves. The pole sitter on the Alpine up ahead, but there could be a change for the lead. We know how powerful the slipstream is. We know how absolutely dastardly the DRS is, and with that DRS dosage, the McLaren man is going to have child's play here. They're going to make child's play, rather, of the Ferrari up ahead. By the time they reach the apex, Scott fundamentally already ahead, and through into P1 goes the McLaren maestro, and now these two have sort of got to work together. They can't afford to be embroiled in battles behind. That's the last thing they need to do, particularly with those on older tyres and bringing themselves down to everybody else's level behind. They've been head and shoulders ahead of the rest so far, but they've got to keep it up.
Absolutely, they've really got to see if they can find a gap and bridge a gap there to have a gamer. It may require a little bit of ERS burning, and I remember that Scott Taylor was low last time we looked. We see a battle there, I think, for the lower end positions of Vortex and Vixel. I think Vixel's had a really difficult time, and Havoc Gamer is looking to be out of this race. I think he retired, in fact, in the pit lane. have the Red Bull gone out? Let's see if we can potentially see him in there. No. I think, yeah, there you go. He's left the session. He is done and dusted for the day. Scott Taylor has really been a man on the prowl there. And look at that. They've managed to make that gap happen. 1.6 between Cohen and Bantams. 1.5. So that is going to be a crucial gap now just because of Havoc's retirement. Now, it really has opened the floods up for these drivers to try and just open up that gap and make their way through here. And now it's just gone from what seemed to be an 8-car battle to a 2-car fight, a 2-horse race, if you may, down in towards turn number 12. This is a big old move here for Cohen, and he's taking the lead back here of the US Grand Prix. They're just playing chess pieces at this moment in time, but it should turn into a full-on brawl when we get into those last couple of laps.
Well, the good news is for these two as well, because Havoc Gamer retired out from this race, I mean, I feel like you should always be under the illusion that anything can happen. You've always got to keep yourself in contention. You just never know what could unfold in this particular fixture. But in his case, he thinks that's day done. On the older tyres, there's no redemption day to be had. But these two, because of Havoc Gamer retiring out of this race, they can now work together and get up the road. They've already built 1.8 seconds, or at least that's the gap, between Scott and Cohen. I think Cohen weaving there to say, don't fight this too much, let's work together here. Scott sweeps past with DRS to retake P1. Not much of a resistance put up by Cohen as these two just deploying on each other's DRS, doing a bit of a horse and carriage here to just prize themselves away from Speed Key behind. Like I say, he's got speed in his name. You don't want to mess with him. Bantam's holding down P4 for the time being. Has got a very feisty medium runner of Petronas, who is in a kick Sauber, which royally confuses me. But he is within DRS and looking to make the ascendancy. Bantam's, though, despite the age of those hard compound tyres, with some phenomenal pace at this stage. But surely you feel like, with those newer tyres, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, and also just keep an eye on Petronas, because last time I looked, he was sitting in P7 at the moment in time. That's going to be Vixel losing another front wing end plate, and that looks as dusty as the Sahara Desert on those side pods we just saw there. He tries to flick the car through, and the understeer will be absolutely monumental. You might as well call it Chonda steer, as a fellow Jimmy Broadbent likes to call it. I know it's called Chunda steer. My apologies on that one. Chunda steer is what he likes to call it. Petronas up to 4th place. Crucial maneuver there, as he now looks to be gaining here on Speed Key. So it'll be Speed against Petronas, both representing Speed. The slash on the side of Mercedes, representing Speed on their race cars, but we've got SLR Petronas, who's going to be absolutely on the prowl on those medium compound tyre. I think he's also going to be praying for a safety car and hoping that he can maybe get into an opportunity, a race winning opportunity. As much comes into the pit lane, I think he's maybe going to a set of medium compound tyres, and it is looking to be that exact set, medium tyres onto the car.
Yeah, nothing to lose for much. Might as well get those medium tyres on us. Vixel's just been disqualified from this session, receives multiple penalties. He'll park up to the side. The American dream has been dashed into nightmares as out of this race goes Vixel. What was such a promising start to this encounter has slid so far out of control, and there's only so much purchase he can get. The MoneyGram Haas car is out of this contest, as Scott Taylor again looking to make another move with DRS. I will say Speed Key is catching up little by little, just chipping away at the advantage, as again through goes the McLaren man, sweeping to the racing line, hoping that Cohen then doesn't nerf into his diffuser, which is, well, just risky at the best of times. But behind there's a big battle between Mercedes and Ferrari. Bantams versus Sniper Z. It was a matter of when, not if. And Sniper Z has used those newer tyres to great advantage. SLR Petronas was unleashed, as per sponsor, on the previous lap. Sniper Z now has that same freedom and now can go on the attack on those hard compound tyres. And Speaky, actually on this lap, has caught up even more. 3 tenths from just that DRS straight up to this point. There could be a 3-way fight for the win still. Don't adjust your sets, ladies and gentlemen. We're in for a sensational slobber knocker here.
You just say?
A sensational slobber knocker.
That's a first for me.
You're
anyway,
welcome, mate.
Lap 18. Lap 18 of 28 here at the US Grand Vortex has been given a 3-second time penalty for track limits once again down there in P10. There was little to no hope to his race. 18 seconds back from much there in P9. The only thing he can really do is just try and keep a 10th place, and he's just got to try and accumulate half a minute worth of penalties. It'd be pretty easy if you like racetracks, then that should be pretty easy. Just keep on the black stuff and you'll be absolutely fine. Speaking now, chipping that gap down to 1.4 seconds, and I think Petronas has now just been getting involved in battles that he really shouldn't be. He's been sucked in to the battle with the Mercedes and the Ferrari, and that's really costing. You can see there he's just in the middle of this tussle. This medium tyres, you really want to be getting up to the likes of Speaky and Cohen and Scott Taylor, which the Williams is looking to try and do. But this race is still not over. I think a safety car could really change up, and this is not me trying to like jinx or manifest a safety car. This is genuinely me keeping that opportunity still open, because we've had two safety cars, one of them upgraded from a virtual. So oh, the big snap there from Petronas. That you always looks bigger that always looks bigger on the onboard compared to the offboard, the cinematics, I should say. But yeah, I'm not going to leave out that. I'm not going to rub off that potential of a safety car. There still could be, with about 10 laps to go of this race. But yeah, much there, setting as fast as that. On the medium compound tyre, George Hutch also going onto a fresh set of medium tyres as well. So some drivers thinking that it's best to go onto a fresh set of tyres than to just stay out on old hards. I wonder how this is going to turn out for the likes of Scott Taylor and Cohen, because I don't think Petronas will make it to the end. I think they will be absolutely shot by the time he gets those mediums onto the last lap of the race.
Petronas' medium tyres crumbling like a hobnob here on lap number 19 as Vortex gets yet another penalty. I told you he was on course for 15 seconds worth of penalties. Well, someone was on course for 15 seconds worth of penalties. And there it is, visualised in front of your very eyes. Cohen then has remained in the DRS of Scott Taylor, and Speaky might have done all the hard work previously, but now isn't having such a great time of things. He's got a decent amount of battery, so it's not like he's low on battery, but at the moment, the DRS horse and carriage proving to provide the most effectiveness here at the Circuit of the Americas. Much his pace, by the way, he's going quite well, and despite having what at the end of the day will be an inferior strategy through no fault of his own, safety cars permitting, you can hardly predict them at the best of times. But despite that, he's got good pace, and yes, he's very tail happy. He's like a waggly dog in the Alpine. But he is catching up, making good time on Matty Peel up ahead. And there's still a good chance for some solid points here. So, like we say, just by keeping yourself in the game here, not giving up. And speaking of which, in terms of keeping in the game, a crucial one for the race win, Cohen has a 3-second time penalty. And any thoughts he had of winning this race on the track has been thwarted by track limits.
Absolutely has, and now that's going to really pay into a bit of an advantage there for Scott Taylor. He doesn't have to come fully, but he can just sigh a breath of relief. He can just take that little bit of time. He will continue to battle now with the Ferrari, but all he needs to do is just keep it on the racing surface. Do not go anywhere near those white lines. Stay within them, and you'll be absolutely handy dandy. Down in towards turn number 12 we go. I was looking to the outside, just trying to distract that McLaren car. In towards 13, using all the steering lock he possibly can, and a little bit more than you would normally expect. Where will Cohen go for that next move? He could do big red, but he needs a big old exit from turn number 20. I think also we've got MJ about to come onto the scene. Look at the little green dot down towards turn number 20. That is an AI car of MJ, who's not been involved in this race since the opening lap. But yeah, we've got Scott Taylor and Cohen now just coming alongside, well, not quite alongside, but coming up behind that Aston Martin, and Scott could get a big old haul of DRS, or if it's a bit too slow for their liking, could it go to Speed Key instead, who's 1.8 seconds back?
The potential to propel is certainly an enticing one for F1 Scott. However, I imagine he's going to completely usurp the Aston Martin car before they even make the DRS zone. There's no point in even slowing down for it. They make it through the left-hander, and MJ still performing ghosts. It's not spectral supremacy, as through phases Scott Taylor, through phases Cohen, and through also phases Speed Key, and Matty Peel's had a problem. He's had a spin, and the tyres not complying whatsoever. Just has to teeter and tiptoe his way back onto the track, and Much thought he was going to have a bit of a harder time catching up and retrieving P7. Nay, you can write that one off and scribble it off the list. He's up to P7, and it's going to be a good haul of points should he keep it on the black stuff. Scott Taylor, though, at the end of the DRS straight, still holds the lead of this one. Cohen, remaining in that DRS range, might have that penalty looming over his head, but the only ray of sunshine he'll have is winning this on the track, and so he is pushing like mad. Don't discount Speed Key. He is still absolutely on it like a car bonnet, and he's coming through this triple right-hander section once again, just holding the shortest line possible. Again, 1.3 seconds. That's the closest he's been to this battle all race long, and he's just got to keep it there and close in that tiny bit more. Meanwhile, behind, we have an even closer set of affairs. Bantams has got back past SLR Petronas, so despite having unleashed himself originally from the Ferrari man, it has not paid off. He has to, in fact, open up the DRS flap, maximum flappage down the straight, but it will not propel him up the positions. And speaking of someone who is ascending up positions at the moment, it's George Hutch, because Matty Peel has had yet another problem. It's front wing damage, and it just goes from bad to worse.
I thought that was going to be a potential safety car. That yellow was out for quite a long time. But yeah, we've had some absolute thrilling action in the last couple of moments. And Speaky did, in fact, get that DRS off the Aston Martin. So that was going to be a big, crucial moment. And here he is. In fact, I think he's just trying to get a little bit more here on that Ferrari. That's all he really needs. I think if you are Cohen, you want to be safe right onto the back of Scott Taylor, just because if he cracks under pressure, if he manages to get him to miss his braking point, he's going to go off and potentially get a 3-second time penalty as well. Then it would be to the advantage of Speaky, but there's so many different ways this chaotic F05 eSports race can go. I've been in the F05 eSports hot seat for almost a year now, so I've seen all the chaotic races that have happened around here from, well, we've had so much going on. We've had, I believe, last to first, we've had last lap tussle, we've had it all down to the last couple of moments. We've had close finishes separated by milliseconds, and that is just scratching the surface, if you know what I mean, because there was a certain interesting scratch that happened exactly at this circuit a couple of months ago, well, almost a year ago now. But yeah, that was a funny little situation. Lap 23, Petronas is in. He's getting rid of the medium tyres, and he'll go on to a fresh, lovely boot. Lovely set of soft tyres to finish off this race.
Will be fastest lap consolation for the Kick Sauber driver. If nothing else, onto the track he goes, foot to the floor, which is apt because he's in a Kick Sauber. Into turn one, can he keep it ahead of George Hutch? The answer is yes, only just, but he does remain ahead in the lean green machine in P7. Up at the front though, once again, Scott Taylor has the ascendancy. Again, Cohen with DRS. Speed Key as close as he's ever been though, and crucially, earlier on in the lap, not losing too much time due to that DRS, but he kind of puts psychological pressure on yourself a little bit. When you're getting closer and closer, you think, yes, I'm going to get in that DRS, then you push yourself a bit too hard, and all the hard work is completely nullified. You've just got to keep driving like you've always been driving. Don't change anything. You know that you're quick enough, and then ultimately, you'll gain the time as it teeters at 1.1 seconds for a brief moment. We're approaching 5 tours of COTA left to go when these lot cross the line, and it could well be a 3-way fight for this win as again, Key is getting closer and closer to breaching the DRS detection point. 1.0. It's so incredibly close. Under a second. It's the Williams driver for a brief moment. He's just got to hook it together in Sector 1. If he can do that, then we have the triple threat at the front in Texas.
Oh, it's going to be a real nail biter in this one. We'll have absolutely buckaroo like driving here. Look at Speaky really trying to attack this course as much as he possibly can. He's got it underneath the second, but however how much longer. He's really just trying to etch that car forward and forward as much as he possibly can. He will be underneath that second now. 8/10 he's got at that DRS detection point, but Cohen is a 4/10 behind Scott Taylor here, down towards turn number 12. This will be a big run. If he can unsettle that McLaren, he's got to do it now. Down in towards turn number 12, pulls to the right-hand side and gets past that McLaren. A brilliant overtake there. Managed to tuck himself back into the slipstream, and now Speaky will be looking at that, licking his lips and saying, I want to get involved, because he's now just got to focus on that McLaren of Scott Taylor. The minute he gets past that McLaren, he's just got to stay in front, and he will be able to win at this Grand Prix. But it's going to be so tough. Just continue battling, boys, he says behind his helmet. Right now, he is just keeping right behind him. In fact, look at that, 4/10 of a second. In fact, may I just say, is this 8/10 separating the top three here, Karl?
Oh, yes, it is. Strap yourselves in. Make that 6/10 as they approach turn number 1. Key is well and truly in striking range as they head through sector 1. Cohen takes the lead. Scott Taylor in P2. Speed Key is well and truly got himself on the doorstep for a potential P1, but he's got to make it count while he still can, as Petronas quite obviously takes the fastest lap on the soft compounder tyres, a 1:34.2, as he rapidly approaches much in the Alpine car. Potential for an overtake should the softs not melt. But to the DRS zone once again. About 3.5 tours of the Circuit of the Americas track we go for. And it's going to be a tale of two ends as a big squirm as Speed Key tries to slam on the power and get DRS. But right behind, hunkering in, using overtake on the McLaren. There's a chance for the Williams driver to properly assert his authority round the outside, but a big snap on the brakes as he tries to run rings round Scott Taylor. Has the inside for the right-hander. Scott with the outside line will use the momentum, but Speed Key has shot himself in the foot, was on the doorstep, nay, almost breaking the door down, but ultimately couldn't quite fit in the lock. It's a 3-second time penalty once again, and as long as Scott keeps out of trouble and keeps it together, all he has to do is stay within range and he will win the US Grand Prix.
That's all he needs to do, Scott. Just keep it on the road and you are a winner, my friend. On towards lap 26. 3 laps to go. For the McLaren, it must feel like the longest 3 laps he will ever have in his life. Down towards Big Red we go. I should say up towards Big Red we go. Plunging back down the hill. The speed will just increase and increase. Flicking through at 160 miles an hour. To the left, to the right, and back to the left, and back to the right. The body of the car moving everywhere. Cohen will look to be just climbing all over the rear of that McLaren. He wants to take the lead on track here as much as he possibly can, but a poor exit out of turn number 9. But will he be able to get the run down into towards turn number 12, using as much as the entry curb as they possibly can before turning in toward the hairpin section? Now, where will this battle go? It's gone in so many different directions, but Scott Taylor will plant that car in the middle of the road. Cohen will be forced to that left-hand side. He will look to now just keep in behind, but now look at this. They're just a tooth and nail. You can't separate them. The only thing you can separate them by is a sheet of paper at this rate, and they head their way through the squiggly sections. Now, how are they feeling behind the visors of these cars? My goodness, this is on absolute heat right now.
So incredibly close between the top 3. You can hardly separate them. Matty Peel gets another 3-second time penalty. Vortex, by the way, now up to 21 seconds worth of penalties. So he'll be finishing the race in Mexico. But through the final corner they go. Just 2 laps here at the Circuit of the Americas to go. And like we say, all that this man at the front, all the McLaren Maestro has to do is keep it on the road. Keep it within range of Cohen and Speed Key. And he will win this Grand Prix and make very good gains in the championship. Was P4 going into this one. The next person ahead of him was 7 points between himself and Sniper Z. That is going to be one hell of a munch into that gap, maybe even usurping that gap after this race is said and done. Another dose of DRS for Cohen and Speedkey behind to deploy with. Meanwhile, while they're sorting that out, behind, it's really rather stabilised. Sniper Z in P4 has got a stable gap of 1.9, almost 2 seconds, to Bantams, the pole sitter in the Ferrari. Much has kept P6, but Petronas is closing in, and should he close in enough, they will get DRS, and then it will be rather spicy at the final stanza. Meanwhile, Speedkey potentially going for the attack. It will still count for Cohen and Speedkey in this particular conquest. Speedkey looked to try and make the move, but couldn't quite scythe his way through. As into the right-handers they go. Scott Taylor has it completely under control, and Cohen will probably actually want to stay behind here. So he has that DRS, has the best line of defense against Key behind, and therefore there will be no opportunity or door that opens up for the Williams driver. It's all a chess game, and it's been played to perfection at the moment by the championship leader.
Absolutely, and Vortex is pretty much collecting time penalties now, like cookies in a jar. But now on to the final lap of this race, and Scott Taylor, just keep it on the track, my friend. Cohen will have an attack down towards turn number 1, tries the outside line, but just had to sit behind the McLaren. He'll want to take this win on the racetrack here. Speaky will also want to try and as well. He will also try and look at throwing that Williams down the inside by any means, and by many needs mean, in towards that first section splits, and we're really starting to see these drivers now starting to really make something happen here. That's potentially rain on the camera lens. We'll keep an eye on that one. I think that the halo shots will be the best suit for this one. They head their way through turn number 11. Here comes the DRS, will be enabled, and there it goes. The flap will open on both of these cars. To the left-hand side goes Scott Taylor. Speaky will also be looking at potentially taking this, because this is a P2 spot for them, for him as well. Down towards turn number 12, they're just keeping it within line, and there is a little bit of rain spots, very lightly though, but they won't play too much of an advantage. Through 15 they go. Cohen still trying to see that gap open up. The tire must be crying for help for now, but don't worry, it'll all be over very soon. 2 corners to go for the McLaren driver. Speaky will look to the inside, but no doings there. Through the final corner, Scott Taylor here in the US of A. You are an F05 eSports winner. What a race here in America. Cohen will finish home in second, with Speedkey home in third. It's a brilliant way to end that fight. Sniping and Bantams rounding out that top 5. Brilliant stuff from those guys.
Pretty much perfect from F1 Scott. How about that? As much goes sliding across the line, Petronas will inherit P6, as much they'd have a 3-second time penalty to their name. And now we wait for George Hutch and the rest of the F05 proceedings to cross the line, and that will be the end of that. What a race. The McLaren Maestro conducted it to perfection. It was simply symphonic from the word go. A super start, sublime second stanza, and when it came to crunch time, Scott Taylor reigned colossal. Cohen, the prancing horse from Ascot to America, thought he had it done, but a 3-second time penalty put pay to any potential chances. And speed by name, speed by nature, it's a podium for Speedkey. We can't stress this enough, though. So many times the bridesmaid, never the bride. Don't worry, Scott, you're betrothed to that top spot today. What a performance from F1 Scott. He's finally done it for McLaren here in F05 eSports. We'll have an interview with him soon. I can only imagine he is going to be absolutely ecstatic.
He will absolutely be, and I think he might pour a glass of champagne for himself tonight. And in fact, if he does, it will be entirely deserved. It's been a superb race for these guys. They've been really at it tooth and nail, and proving to be a real entertainment factor for us here in F05. I've been it always excites me to be back on an F05 esports stream every single time. It just makes me so happy to see these guys batting away, and it's been magic, truly magic tonight, and I expected this chaos as well, and it's really become apparent.
The podium celebrations, ladies and gentlemen. I forgot I had my graphics on ultra low, so now they look silly. Spraying absolutely nothing, shaking their bottles viciously with vitriol and victory. But in the end, when push came to shove, F1 Scott pushed and shoved his way through to the big time. He is a league race winner, finally, on the F1 game circus. It's been a long time coming. It really has been a long time coming. But there's almost no one that deserves it more. What a performance from F1 Scott. And now me and Adam can take a breather. And I can take a breather because at least in the race, nothing technical went wrong. And that makes me very happy.
I can sense the relief from here. I can sense the sweat dripping from your head with the relief. And now we do have a couple of drivers involved in our interview waiting room. I believe that's Cohen as well as Scott Taylor. They'll be interviewed in just a moment. But yeah, just kind of a roundup of that race. I think that there's been some really good driving. Of course, I think it was a little less chaotic than I thought it would be. I thought we'd see maybe a crash, but I didn't expect a disqualification tonight. I was not expecting that on my bingo card, if I made one, before jumping on here.
I will say, shout out to Mr. Apex Cohen Fu Panda, because he's just told me that for a brief moment, Adam Reed was in fact in another realm. I do apologise. He has now transported himself back to planet Earth, and now we can continue. Shall we have an interview? Let's have an interview with none other than today's race winner, Mr. F1 Scott. You are a league race winner. Congratulations, my friend.
For the first time ever, it has happened. We have had unfortunateness. And then finally it happened. How you doing, Karl?
I'm doing great. We're doing great. We're doing great. You put on an absolute show today. It really was a sensational race all the way through. The start was perfect. You carried yourself all the way through. In terms of, for a first race win, how sweet does that feel?
Mate, banging, because I get 0 track warnings throughout the whole thing. I was just like, yes, mate. And then everyone started getting track warnings behind me, and I was just like, yes. And we done it, yeah. No, we had Kareem helping me. We have to give him credit for the strats today. So he done well. So yeah, mate, banging, loved it. And I think that's McLaren maybe in the lead. I don't know. I can't remember. I think.
I believe. So, just looking at because I had a look at the constructors championship. I believe from the standings, because you were I'm not sure, 13 points. I'm not sure where any of the other Alpines, but 25 points is a good start for you. That's all I'll say.
Yes, mate. I loved it. How was it from your end? Was there any? Who was the worst driver and who was the best driver? I'm going to ask you difficult questions.
As a diplomat in this situation,
welcome to my
comment.
booth.
Adam Reed, what do you think?
I'm taking control of this.
I don't think that would be appropriate. I think I'll keep this.
The correct answer was Havoc Gamer, by the way. That was the correct answer.
Ever the diplomats here on F05 ESPORTS, ladies and gentlemen. Talk us through the safety cars in particular. Obviously, you had that first early safety car, didn't choose to pit. There's always kind of an air of expectation when it comes to safety cars, particularly on F124. But did that when you made that second pit stop? Was there always there's always a second game plan in terms of if another safety car comes out, but how were the tyres going through that stint? Because, it's a decently long time, but those hard tyres, how did they hold out for you in that second stint?
They got rough at the end, last few laps, and then the rain started in the last lap, which was even worse. No, they were a bit rough, but not as rough as the people that pit on their first safety car. Their tyres would have been done. Now, that was Kareem. I was maybe going to pit, and he just said stay out, so we stayed out, and then the next one came out. And then there wasn't another one, which I'm surprised about, because I expected at least 3 or 4 safety cars, But no, everyone was good, to be honest. I didn't see any real chaos.
It seemed like it was happening all behind you.
I suppose, yeah. I don't get moments like that very often. I'm usually the guy behind trying to get in front. But today it was quite nice. I just got to go drive. Cohen was with me. He's always fun to race against because he doesn't destroy you. And yeah, other than that, I think he just buckled. He buckled under the pressure a little bit, because if he hadn't got the penalty, it would have been anyone's by the end.
So yeah, I kind of wanted to go back to the start, to qualify, because that kind of
Yeah.
seemingly where your confidence really started. You managed to put your car very much up in the top two spots. What was that like? Was there a real feel? When you got into those positions in qualifying?
Yeah, well, I was kind of lucky. So the Creator Series had the random track right that was COTA, so I've already done 100% and a short qualifying the last couple of days. So it was kind of fine. I was just trying to beat that, and I did beat that, and I was just chill. But there was some other fast people. I think Bantams came in first, if I remember correctly. He nailed it, bottled it in the race a little, but mate, he was fast. Like, yeah, I was just trying to not invalidate. Just don't invalidate, and you'll be fine.
No, it's a sterling performance. It
Absolutely.
really was.
Thank you.
It
That's
really
banging.
was. I think final thing from me, you've obviously taken your first race win. As a result, championship-wise, you, I think, move up in the driver standings. McLaren surge forwards in the constructor standings.
Oh,
now
yeah.
you have that first win in the pocket. Does that sort of relieve that kind of devil on your shoulder in a way? Does that mean now you really can just focus forwards and constantly go for even more wins?
Yes, I am always second. I feel like, especially in the Creator Series, most of the time here, like I always get second as my best result. So finally, we have a win now. Now I don't care anymore. So now I can I could do things. I mean, how much of punishment do you get when you take someone out? Do you know?
As the diplomat, I will not answer this. Adam, what do you think?
Right, get you to Switzerland.
Love it. Right.
Yeah, no, I'll be good. It'll be fun. Next week will be banging.
Excellent. Well, F1 Scott, that as well. F1 Alex has just said he's coming to race so he can finish second. You can finish second behind him, like in Creator Series. So he says. But...
Did he actually beat me? Oh yeah, that one race in Monaco. I swear I'll get him back for that.
Oh yeah.
I was going to win. I was going to win, and he's absolutely sent it. I remember that. Yeah. Okay, let's bring it, Alex. How much? Did I get a worse penalty for taking out Alex because it's his thing, or like is it equal? I don't know. Is that an instant ban?
Well, I mean, I won't say anything, but I mean, it's going to be entertainment for us in the commentary box, regardless. Scott,
Okay,
it's
love
been
it,
an
guys.
absolute pleasure, mate.
Absolutely.
It's been an absolute pleasure. What a race from you. You might have had the second places for a long time, but you're no longer the bridesmaid. Not anymore. You are a league racing winner. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you so much. Adios.
Adios, my friend.
Ciao, man.
Take care, mate.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy your champagne.
He certainly will. What a legend F1 Scott is. But meanwhile, we've got to have a conversation as well with the championship leader. We'll bring in Mr. Cohen. Great race from you as well. Absolutely fantastic racing. Great racecraft and battling between you and Scott. Just talk us through the weekend as a whole. How was it for you out there?
Yeah, thank you very much. First off, I want to congratulate, of course, our one and only Scott. He was really fast, really consistent. I think we all know he's a very consistent driver himself. Yeah, he kind of just forced me into the penalty there. I'll come back to that later. So yeah, qualifying, I kind of butchered my lap first turn. I was 2 times down. P4 in the end, I think I could be content with that. And then of course the start came around. I got P3 and then was behind my teammate. He kind of let Scott get away and he broke the RS. So I was thinking like, okay, maximum P2 this weekend. But then he bottled it into the pit wall and absolutely destroyed himself, which I think caused the safety car or some other incident. So that made me catch up to Scott. And then I was just chilling in his DRS, to be honest, until the second safety car came out, bit for hards. And then safety car restart, I think he got a little bit unlucky on the safety car restart as he overtook a Red Bull, if I'm not mistaken. And he did it before the start-finish line, which he had to give back on the pit straight, which I then overtook him, which was just for a brief moment, as he overtook me straight away back again. And then, yeah, rest of the race, it was history. I was just sitting behind him, chilling in his DRS. And then I think 2-3 laps in a row, he tried to break DRS, which kind of pressured me into a penalty. which kind of wrote the race for me. I was thinking maximum P3, as P3 was only 2 seconds behind then, and he was looking quite fast, catching up to us. Yeah, last few laps was a nice battle, and then he got a penalty on his own, which made me fight for P2, which I then ultimately got, which is really good for the championships.
No, it's a great race, mate. Absolutely fantastic from you. Adam, question from you?
Nothing from me at the moment. Honestly, congratulations. It's been brilliant seeing you battle out there.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I think the main point of this weekend is just Scott's victory, very clean drive. Congratulations to him. And I might have to switch my aims in the championship to him now.
Hey, quite potentially. Yeah, you never know. I've got a couple more questions. Adam Reed might cook one in the time being. You never know. But I think, firstly, talking about that penalty, it is unfortunate. But at the end of the day, did that change your approach going forwards in terms of the way you were battling, especially when it came to the end of the race where you had Key behind you on that same penalty? Did that change your approach at all when you got that penalty in terms of battling?
Yeah, it did, because when I got that penalty, I was just focused on like not doing any stupid dive bombs, not ruining Scott's race. As you know, I wouldn't have won the race because I've got that penalty. There's no reason for me to be P1 track position. So I was just trying to keep him alive, and then obviously not trying to lose time to the guy behind, as he didn't have a penalty at that time being. I was trying to kind of pull away from him, which didn't work. He was quite rapid actually. So yeah, I think that did kind of change my driving. Yeah, just not trying to not be stupid, just trying to be sensible and stuff, not ruining anyone's race, as that's never fun.
Fair enough. No, I completely agree with you on that one. I think also, I mean, regardless of the result today, it's still a good result for you. You continue to extend your championship lead. What was 34 points? I've no idea what the gap is now. The maths isn't mathing, but it is an extension at the top of the championship. You continue that trajectory and that momentum with just a few rounds to go. Does that confidence just continue growing, or is there still something in the back of your mind where you think there's still that little bit of work to do?
Well, obviously, I've got quite a big gap now, but with Scott's up and coming, I'm kind of concerned by that. Because, if I have one bad weekend and he wins the race, the gap gets diminished quite a lot. Obviously, it's a big gap now, so I should be fine. I don't know how many rounds are left, but I'll make sure to try my best in those rounds, and then we'll see what happens. I think we got quite a big haul as well in the World Constructors, so that might be on as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can tell you the next round is Brazil. Is the next round. There's 4 rounds to go. Talking about Brazil as a track, obviously a preview to what we have next. How do you feel around Brazil? What can you kind of expect going forwards? Obviously, quite possibly, the battles between you and Scott.
Well, I hate Brazil
Oh no.
with my whole heart. It is not a good track for me. I think I lack a lot in Sector 2, especially later on in the race, as my tire wear actually it sucks. I don't know. I've seen it as well this race. My tire wear is just so bad, and I've got no idea how or why. I really have to try and improve that, but I genuinely don't know how. So that's kind of my concern. Brazil. Mm, I'm kind of I'm kind of concerned. I'm hoping for a podium, best case scenario, and I'm hoping Scott somehow bottles it, even though he's known as Mr. Consistent.
Well, you yourself continue to keep the consistency. That's why you're the championship leader, my friend. Cohen, It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for jumping on with us. Adam, anything final from you?
Well, you kind of saw my final question, but it's fine. No. But congratulations on second place. It's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.
Lovely. Have a great evening, mate. Take care.
Same to you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thoughts of the top 2 there. It's quite interesting hearing Cohen talk about the tyre wear and that he was experiencing, Adam, wasn't it? Because I think in a way it comes down to driving style at the same time. Yes, he was caught up in the dirty air quite a lot, particularly towards the end of that race. But if you are more aggressive on that steering, you are more abrasive with the front tyres, of course you're going to incur that punishment. And then that is going to bring you back slightly as you go on further in the race. It's interesting to see those dynamics developing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that he kind of talks about high tire wear and the way that kind of the game has that increased tire wear compared to F123 is really interesting because it's kind of the way to go fast is getting all the steering lock. It seems like onto the car until you find a point where you start sliding off the road. Um, but it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of goes around in Brazil because there's the way Brazil is shaped out. There's a lot of long corners and especially the likes of the center S and of course down the retro posta. You got the curve of the boxes as well, and of course that middle sector is going to be horrible for the front tires. So it's going to really need to maybe change up the driving style or do something. And of course, if you do want to see, of course, Cohen have a love-hate relationship, have a relationship with Brazil, just like Lando Norris and Sushi, then you can tune in onto F05 ESPORTS Division 2 next Wednesday at 8 p.m. We'll be around of course, we'll be around in Interlagos, around the lake as they call it in Interlagos, and I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, a real samba feel every single time you go to Interlagos, Brazil. I do love that circuit personally. It's going to be such a good race. I can sense it already.
Well, we'll see who keeps their heads above water, who is in fact madly kicking and screaming for resuscitation. All will be revealed in a week's time when we return for the Brazilian Grand Prix. By the way, also a huge shout out, speaking of tyres, a huge shout out to Bantams because he did 26 laps on the hard tyres, pitting under that first safety car to get the front wing changed. Did 26 laps on the hard tyres and still managed to procure a top 5 after all was said and done. I mean, he had phenomenal pace, even on the older tyres.
Yeah, Bantams is. I've known Bantams for a while, and he's a really, really quick driver. And I think, yeah, he's been absolutely amazing. I've been really, really impressed with Bantams as well, and I think he can maybe be a champion challenger. Just needs to be a little bit more consistent. I think that moment at the beginning of the race would have definitely cost him just that little bit. But before we sign off, Carl, where can they find you? Go on, shout out all your socials.
Well, I'll tell
to
you.
the nth degree. Since we are live for the first time in Division 2, you've actually had a stream. Incredible
Yes!
stuff. Amazing.
It's actually not exploded. This is great. Right, lads. Well, firstly, you can find me here. Why are you not watching? You can literally find me here. What are you doing? I'll tell you where you can't find me. You can't find me in Latvia. You definitely won't find me there. But where you will find me is you can see my Instagram tag, Karl.Paranic, bunch of Karl Paranic things around social medias. I have a very distinctive name. You'll probably find me there. Wilco's saying something about, I'm still there, mate. Don't worry. It's okay. I'm just reading through chat now to kind of review all of this. F1, shout out to F1 Alex, by the way. I think we can all, both of us, completely say that. Shout out to F1 Alex. Thank you so much for having us both on. It's been hugely appreciated. Shout outs to Tuatara for being awesome and powering the F05 Esports League. But aside from me, Mr. Adam Reed, where can we find you on the socials?
Of course, you got my link down there at Adam Reed _commentary. That's where I post all of my clips and all of my announcements for when I go into real life commentary. Do have something lined up for this season, so hopefully but I'm still looking for more opportunities, as I'm pretty sure a lot of other commentators are doing at this moment in time. But yeah, you can also find me on TikTok at Motorsport. That's where I post a lot
Miracles do happen, mate.
majority of my motorsport content, and I have actually posted this evening as well, so you can go and check that most recent video if you are a Lewis Hamilton or a Ferrari fan, or just overly excited about what happened today. There has been a recent post on that, so go and enjoy and enjoy a popcorn bag full, and go and have a look at some of the best Lewis photos from today. Feast your eyes, because trust me, I've killed my phone looking at those that many pictures.
Honestly, it's an historic moment. I completely empathise with you. What a time we are living in, ladies and gentlemen. Lewis Hamilton is actually a Ferrari driver. Well, the sun has set on what has been a crucial circuit of the Americas clash. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. There's so many thank yous I have to give out. It's ridiculous. Again, thanks to F1 Alex. Thank you to Tuatara for powering this wonderful league. Thank you to all of Division 2 for having myself and Adam alongside me commentating for you all today. It's been a blast. I can absolutely tell you now, it has been a blast. We've absolutely loved it. You did not disappoint whatsoever. And, well, come Brazil, bring much of the same, because we'll be back for the Brazilian Grand Prix in a week's time at 8 o'clock English time. So, with that, also a huge shout out to everyone that followed. I don't know who followed me, but huge shout out. I've got too many shout outs to do on that front. Thank you. I love every single one of you. I'm lost for words. As a commentator, it's a nightmare. But thank you, everyone. I appreciate you big time. That is it, though, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for watching. Consider following the F05 ESPORTS League, especially as it heads to Division 1 tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the evening. Don't miss out on that one. Plenty of heavy hitters there and plenty of scores to settle. I'm going to stop the stream immediately and not give a fun and fruitful outro, because the last time I tried that, everything died. So I'm just going to end it and we shall call it a day there. But from myself and from Adam alongside me, we thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time at the Brazilian Grand Prix, it's goodbye.